What drove a lot of last week's loss? Dow, major indexes all done about 2%. Maybe the implications for tax rates regarding the fiscal cliff there. It ends at the end of the year. Your capital gains taxes, your dividend taxes may go up. Some people might be selling. That was the Abreast column today. We were going to have Jonathan Cheng on here, but he's probably stuck in traffic. Everyone's stuck in traffic today, so he couldn't get here. This is a good story, Abreast of the tape. People are selling, getting out ahead of the fiscal cliff, not waiting to see what the damage is, just taking and booking their profits now where they can get them. Speaking of the market, Steve, speaking of the Dow, let's take a quick look at the Dow. I think it's up today. It was up a little while ago when we came up here. And you can see there it is, just up 6 points. Quiet day. Stock market open. Bond market closed. We're observing Veterans Day today, so a lot of people on vacation. That's why you really don't see a lot of action there. Probably, you know, look, it's 10:30. I'm saying probably won't see it. God only knows what will happen until the closing bell. But quiet day on Wall Street so far. No major data, no major earnings. We'll see what happens tomorrow when we get back. All right, let's talk about the fiscal cliff. Let's talk about how businesses are reacting to the fiscal cliff. We're all sitting here waiting on tenterhooks for the resolution of the fiscal cliff, so are businesses. Heard on the streets, Justin Lahart is here with this story. Mr. Lahart, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
How much of businesses being on hold is related to the fiscal cliff?
Well, you know, I think we have seen in the data that they've really been holding back on capital spending. So we've seen really slow capital spending growth, and that's because people saw this coming. People knew to be a little cautious. If you think about how much defense work gets done, you know, throughout all kinds of businesses, huge effect on capital spending. So if you start thinking about, well, I don't know what defense spending is going to be, then you're going to put off that project.
Yeah. Is this really a matter of companies worried about what their own tax rates are going to look like, or how this is all going to affect the economy and consumer spending?
I think it's probably less about, I mean, there is probably a worry about consumer spending. Yeah. There is probably a little worry about tax rates, but mostly I think that I have nothing to back it up yet. You know, we're going to have to wait. But I think that a lot of it is the sequestration.
Yeah, I know, it's such a weird word, right?
Yeah. And just if you think about how much government spending plays into stuff, and then also, you know, that if we go over the cliff, you have a recession. Yeah. Huge effect on business.
Right. That's if nothing gets done, everything expires, spending cuts, automatic spending goes in. I got to say, I don't think that's probably going to happen. At least I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What do you think is more likely? What are some of the scenarios?
Well, people think, I mean, basically folks think that there's going to be a compromise, maybe a brief go over the cliff if it's really, you know, if it turns into a real game of chicken, right? But then you're going to have some kind of compromise, and we don't know what that compromise is going to be, but we can sort of guess at the other end of that compromise, we're going to have a little more fiscal drag. Right. There's going to be a little less government spending, and there's going to be a little higher taxes, especially on rich people. Whether it's a tax rate that goes up, or whether you don't get to do the carried interest if you're a hedge fund manager.
So let's say there's a deal. It's January. Even if it takes a couple weeks into January, there's a deal, right? Yeah. Somehow this is all settled. What do businesses do after that?
I think that, you know, there's two things going on. There is that drag that you're going to get. So if you're selling, you know, expensive stuff and rich people are getting taxed more, it's going to hurt, right? And if you depend on government spending, defense, it's going to hurt a little bit, right? But on the other hand, if people have really been holding back, if they've been holding back on capital spending, and they may have been, they're probably holding back on hiring, even though we've had pretty decent hiring, which tells you something about how good the economy probably is. You know, then we see a lot of relief, and we see some more spending, some more hiring, and that may be really enough to overwhelm the fiscal drag.
Yeah, you would hope.
You would hope. But first things first, we got to get through the darn thing.
Right. And I mean, you know they're going to take this to the 11th hour. This is probably going to. You think it'll drag out through the end of the year?
You know, if you look at the last couple of deals that they had to do on tax rates and so on at the end of the year, they've been like December 17th, December 22nd, something like that. So, yeah, we got another
How nice would it be? How nice would it be if they got this done on December 1st? Or any date, just like anything ahead of time. Sure, just a nice little surprise for us all.
Yeah. And a pony.
Right, and a pony. Yeah, hey, you know, we can hope, right?
Yeah.
All right, Justin, thanks a lot.